Katrina back in 2005. Democratic Congressman Luis Gutiérrez of Illinois is joining us. He visited Puerto Rico over the weekend. Congressman, give us your reaction to what we just heard from the president about the cost of to U.S. taxpayers, the cost what's going to be in Puerto Rico, and the death toll.
I wish he would stop talking about money. I wish he would stop talking about what's a human life worth. How do you put that on the scorecard? There is no cost that you can put on a human life, and I wish the president would stop. I'm happy that the official toll, right, which could have been in the hundreds, he says it's 16, okay. But you know what, Wolf, here's what I think. I think Hurricane Maria said, I'm taking 16 on the first round, Luis, and the world, and I'm just gonna leave it in your hands how many more I take in the coming weeks. And the president is visiting Bayamón, Puerto Rico, and San Juan. That's good, that's flatland. For those of us who have visited the island and have gone into the interior in the mountains, we know that there are people who still don't have water, who still don't have food, who still don't have medical care. And you know what, well, they're going to die. So let's stop talking about the death count until this is over. In the coming weeks, we will know the true magnitude. But I will tell you that today, there are millions of people suffering without water, without electricity, and without guarantee to food and medical assistance.
He's also, as you know, Congressman, getting some criticism for when he met with local officials and federal officials upon his arrival in Puerto Rico. He went around the room asking for some praise of the federal response, and people are wondering if that's the right question right now. I don't know if you saw that exchange he had with local and federal officials.
Let me just say I did. I watched. It's been heartbreaking to watch CNN because of Puerto Rico and because of the reporting for Las Vegas. So that's heartbreaking also. But let me just say this. Wolf, we need an evacuation of people from the island of Puerto Rico. Let's remember, he brought up Katrina. 80% of the population was evacuated from New Orleans. Now, I'm not saying that we should evacuate millions of people today, but you want to know something? There are people that are in harm's way. We should build bridges, get them out of the mountainside to a place of safety. And a place of safety in Puerto Rico means another place without water and without electricity. Look, in the city of Chicago, Mayor Rahm Emanuel and I, we're ready. We're ready to receive thousands. As I know the Puerto Rican diaspora in Orlando and New York and Tampa and across the United States, we should begin to think about the people on dialysis and get them the hell out of harm's way instead of looking for praise. We should think about people today that are in chemotherapy in hospitals and the elderly and the wounded and get them out. Let's get the children out of harm's way and let's put them in a safe place in the 48 states, the United States of America. Yes, you're right, Mr. President. It is filled, it is an island surrounded by water. That is the very nature of an island. And you know what? There's no way out. I called today to try to get airline tickets. There are no airline tickets. So even if you want to rescue your loved one, I have calls to my office, Wolf, of people telling me my aunt has leukemia. Can you help me get her out of there? I have children who don't have water and don't have food. Can you help me get them back to the United States? Let's get them to a safe place instead of looking for congratulations and try to act like this is over. This is only the beginning of what I know is going to turn into just such a tragedy for the people of Puerto Rico.
Well, I know that a lot of Puerto Ricans would like to leave Puerto Rico right now, come to the mainland United States, and eventually go back home.
Yes.
But do you see any evidence, Congressman, that there are boats, ships on the way to help people come to the United States, that there are charter planes going in to bring people to the United States?
Wolf, I ask you and your team to try to get a ticket out of there to Chicago. And I didn't try other cities. It's $800, and that's 3 weeks from now, and $1,600 on the top end. Number one, the people who have lost their home, they've lost everything, they don't have the money to get out. We should have also a resettlement program immediately, an evacuation resettlement program. Put them in a safe place, especially the most vulnerable, children. And those of us in the United States of America that want to bring our loved ones here, it's easier. They will return if they want to, but right now, those schools aren't going to open for months. The electricity is not going to come back for months. There's going to be a lot of harm. I traveled through the mainland of, you should see dead cows, horses, and there is no water. Do you know that, just think about the health crisis that's going, it's a tropical island, Wolf, with water everywhere and mosquitoes breeding everywhere, and the hospitals are overloaded as it is. Maybe there are 1/3 of the hospitals operating, and they operate not at full time. So what I'm saying is, let's not congratulate ourselves. Let's not say, oh, 16 people died and thousands died. I'm telling you, Hurricane Maria gave us a test. She said, I'm taking 16 too many. But you know what she also said to us? It's depending on what you're going to do, how many more I take. And I say, let's not let her take one more. Let's evacuate people, especially the elderly and the infirm, immediately. This is the United States of America, the richest, most powerful nation in the world. Let's act like it.
Yeah, let's not forget public schools in Puerto Rico, at least most of Puerto Rico, they're going to be closed for months to come. Congressman Gutierrez, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck to all the people of Puerto Rico right now. We're standing